the heart of what I was trying to get at is Twitch, and we've talked about this, is Twitch something that can actually sustain you instead of maybe one of those things if you so feel, because maybe you love doing music, but you like doing it in this way as opposed to maybe something other kind of music grind.
Yeah, I think it totally can if you put in the time and effort to it. You know, maybe I'm not making a crazy amount of money where, you know, like I'm still living at home, my folks. Let's be real here. I'm still, you know, lucky that I'm living under a house with my parents and they're willing to not let me pay for any rent or anything like that at the moment.
Mhm.
Eventually, down the line, I'm going to have to think about being somewhere else, paying for bills, paying for rent, paying car payments, paying for insurance and stuff like that. And you know, I've made a decent amount of money through Twitch alone than others because of, you know, just the willingness of being able to grind through the moments of being, or like, you know, those lull moments. There's always the highs, there's always the lows, as like almost any gigging thing that we have too. There's going to be those really great paying gigs. There's going to be those really low paying gigs that the music isn't so happening either. So I get kind of the similar experience with regards to that if you put the time into it, I mean, it's a real grind. You know, it took me about 3 or 4 months to finally get my first payment through Twitch. With monetization through Twitch, you have to collect at least a minimum of $100 through their currency, which is either subscriptions or bits alone, just to get that minimum amount of money. And then anything else you make above that, you get to, you know, curate those and keep those profits. But then, you know, outside of that, people can donate to you, and then that's straight to you. That cuts Twitch as the middleman. So it depends on how much time you put into it, I would think. If somebody is only doing it, you know, once or twice a week for an hour or two, you're gonna set yourself up for a much slower grind than doing it 4 or 5 days a week, or other streamers that are on there every day.
Well, to get to what you're saying though is like, I think let's get into this because what I
Sure.
think is cool is that you have I got excited about Twitch because basically what I ended up seeing is here are musicians who no longer have to report to anyone in a sense, like the gig. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you made the stream your own. It felt like,
Yeah.
and even between you and Pat, like it felt like I was watching Dominic's show. Like whatever that is, like it can be obviously other things in music, but like it was like I was watching your show. And I think as a creator, as an artist, that's very exciting because a platform with that much customization really hasn't existed and hasn't allowed musicians to kind of do their thing however they want.
Right.
I mean, like you even said, your setup started a certain way, but like, look at your setup now, man. And I even remember watching your stream. You had like, you know, you have your community, you have a name for your community. You even have a fun thing with like my peeps and like every you basically customize every aspect of the whole thing. And I think that level of entertainment is just in some gig situations is not possible. I mean, we all know those gig situations where we're stuck at a venue where we're not even maybe interacting with people in a direct way, and the limit, there's so many like conditional limits on even allowing the musicians to entertain the people they're playing for. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a big gap there that musicians aren't even getting practice at entertaining. They're really just getting practice at playing whatever is asked of them, but that's not the same thing. And I think that you're, as a Twitch streamer, I just found it was really cool to watch, whether it was you or Patrick or anyone, like you have to entertain the entire 3 hours you're talking. Something's happened while you're playing. Someone says something in the chat. You have to think about what they're saying, also be listening to the music and stay with that and respond while playing and maybe even cue something because you have even like when certain things happen, you cue certain things to occur on
Yep.
your channel, which is exciting too. It's just like the amount of like things happening at once. I mean, only a drummer would be like really capable of like the separation, but I just feel like that's what got me excited about this. So, I mean, does that kind of resonate with you that on like, as a creator, the full control you have as opposed to other
Yeah.
situations?
It's so funny. Like I said, it still resonates to me how much, you know, my Twitch performance career and my gigging performance career feel like in line. When I got started into this, you know, I had to learn on the rope of just talking getting used to interacting with people in chat. Maybe you don't see those faces of everybody in chat personally, or you don't know where these people are coming from, because they're coming from all over around the world. The biggest thing I think I have about it is it's like it gets you out of your comfort zone, so you have to do things maybe you're not normally used to. If you're such an introverted person and you're not used to like talking to people regularly, you have to break that barrier open and start interacting with people, because you're not going to draw an audience if you're not being the person that's making those things happen, making those engagements happen, even just by seeing somebody's username come in and say, hey, how are you doing, it's good to see you here. um, a simple greeting can make at least somebody feel a little bit more welcome along those lines. And that's even besides the music point. It's interesting too, thinking about some of those gigs that exist out there when we're playing for a corporate event, or we're just playing background music. There's a lot of those uh, limitations that don't allow you to have that full musical or full performance experience, unlike some gigs where everybody's invested into the significant amount of time it is. That's why I think I love live streaming so much, is it really captures that moment that you share with those people right then and there. There's no replacement of that. And I think it's also such a neat coincidence to jazz music, because jazz is always so focused on the moment in time, not like the present, or not the future or the past. It's something that magically happens when you're locked into that situation. And I feel like that's what really makes it interesting. Like you're saying, there's so much going on in the stream, and you have so much customability available for whatever you want to call your community, whatever you want to like brand yourself as, along those lines, without stepping on other people's toes. A lot of that stuff I've actually learned from just watching other streamers, like how people transcribe the greats and learn their licks, that from listening to those albums. It's the same ideology. You watch other streamers that you really like, and you take in bits and pieces of what you like from them. There's a few streamers that I like that I've stolen their bits because I like the way they do things. Like one streamer I like, he does this like really 3-camera zoom, so it zooms into my face like 3 times as much when I'm like trying to have a real serious moment, or just trying to be funny, even though I'm usually not that funny. But it's those little gimmicks and those little things and tricks and tips that will just make you a better performer, because it forces you to think, what else can I do to make this myself? How does Don Palumbi look on the outside, or how does everybody perceive me in the way that I like to think people as,
Well, but I think that's a skill that isn't honed, unfortunately, in our education growing up very often as players. I mean, what you're basically saying is that it makes you focus on the audience and what they're perceiving, their perspective. How can you get them more involved? You're constantly
right.
thinking, what can I do to make this more exciting for them? And how often was that a conversation ever? I mean, I think it's really cool that it's bringing, jazz is very inter-focused. You're looking at your playing, it's so self-critical, and that's great for self-development. But then I
Right.
think that kind of gets crossbred into like, that's how we also treat the audience. And unfortunately, I don't think that actually helps your audience engagement. But I think it's cool that, like, that's why it's exciting when I see performers like yourself or other musicians that are learning these new platforms, that are doing those extra skills and taking on those things to take this to the next level.